Hello everyone, welcome back. On today's episode, we're going to be working on our comments. So on the previous episode, we created this show post page and it's working just fine. So the only thing remaining for us to do on the user side is our comments. So let's get started. Now this is going to be relatively easy, somewhat similar to our like button. So we need to create a Livewire component for managing this because I do not want the page to reload when we post a new comment. I also would like to have some sort of pagination because obviously we are going to have quite a bit of a large number of comments on certain posts. So it's going to be quite useful to use Livewire over here. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first step is I'm actually going to go ahead and create our Livewire component first. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's do PHP artisan Livewire make, and you can name this whatever you guys like. Now obviously in this application we're only going to have 3 Livewire components. This is basically the last Livewire component we're making, so I'm not really worried about the names or organizing these too much. But as your projects get larger, you may need to spend more time organizing these into kind of separate domains depending on where they belong. But in this case, all of them are going to be inside our default Livewire folder. But for me, generally, I divide these into separate folders depending on what they do on larger scale applications. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and name it post comments, hit enter. So this will go ahead and create our PHP and Blade file. Next up, we need to actually move our Blade content over to the component. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to open up our post show page, right? So the HTML for this specific page. And our comments should be somewhere at the bottom. Let's see if we can find it. It's over here, actually. It's called comments box. So I'll cut the entire thing and I'll move it inside our post comments. Now, do make sure that you always have one root element on your Blade components, on your Livewire components in this case. So for now, we don't need to worry about it. It already has one, but if it didn't, always make sure you wrap it around by one kind of parent div. So now that we have done this, I'll save this. Let's go back and now we can go ahead and say Livewire post comments. And now that we have this, let's do reload. Hopefully everything looks exactly identical. So now we have our Livewire components. Next step is before we actually implement anything, I think it's best we actually go ahead and create our database setup. Okay, so right now what we need to do is we basically need to create a comments table. And then this comments table is basically going to store all our user comments, and it has a relationship with our users as well as our post model. So let's go ahead and create our comment model. So we can go ahead and say PHP artisan make model. I'm going to name it comment. Now we could also go, for example, name it post comment, but I think comment is more than enough. And probably you want to use some sort of polymorphic relationship if you on a larger scale application. And then let's do -m as well, so we get the migrations as well for this. All right, let's hit enter. This will go ahead and create both our model as well as our migrations for us. So this migration is going to be super simple. So let's go ahead and do it. This is going to be exactly kind of similar to our like button that we created. So we are going to have a foreign ID for our user, so which is going to be the author or the person posting this comment. So this is going to be the first one. Next up, we are going to have another foreign ID, obviously for the post that this comment belongs to. And then last but not least, I'll go ahead and use a string. Maybe you can use a text as well. I don't want the comments to be too long, so I'll limit it to basically maybe 200 characters, something like that. So in this case, you can name this content, you can name it a comment. I think people use different names. I'm going to go ahead and use comment over here. And that's all we need. If you guys would like, you can go ahead and maybe add some extra columns here, but I think that's the bare minimum we need and should be more than enough. So now that we have done this, I'll save this and let's migrate our database by typing in PHP artisan migrate. And we are now good to go. So let me close this extra file that I created. So now that we have our migration, we can actually go ahead and start implementing this comments box or comments. So let's go ahead and take a look at our Blade file. I'm going to actually close our show post page. So first thing we have is, if you guys take a look over here, we have some comments and sections. So these are for kind of the edge cases. So the first one is when we are not logged in, we need to go ahead and show this login to post comments. And then over here we have no comments posted. So let's go ahead and first actually get these done before we actually implement anything. So the first one is we only show this kind of text box, I guess, text input, text area, as well as the button when we are logged in. So in this case, I'm not logged in, so we shouldn't actually be seeing it. We should see this link over here. Okay, so let's go ahead. We can go ahead and do a simple kind of a use the auth directive over here. And then you can also use guess, but in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and say else. You can also go ahead and do that with auth directive. So if you're logged in, go ahead and show our text area and the button, else show this, you know, basically log in to post comments. And this seems to be an HTML comment, so let me uncomment it. All right, so this is going to be the first one. So let's go back, do a quick reload. And as you guys can see, it is now working. So in this case, when we are not logged in, this should show up. And if we click on it, it should obviously send us to the login page. So let's go ahead and also set the route over here. So it's going to be route login. And of course, as always, we need to go ahead and add in wire navigate over here. All right, very nice. Although now that I'm thinking about it, we probably want to later on, if we have the time, refactor to sort of some sort of like universal link, because it's kind of getting annoying having to add wire navigate every time. And you may forget to add it sometimes. So this is something new with Livewire 3, obviously. So I might do that actually before we end the course, create kind of a link, a blade component, so we don't have to do it every single time. All right, so now that I think we have done this, let's go ahead and open up our PHP part. So first thing we need to do, guys, is similar to our like button, we need to know which post we are commenting on. So we need to somewhat store that on our component. So for that, we can go ahead and create or use a public property of type post. So we're going to type hint it, so you know we don't accidentally add some random type. And then obviously I'm going to name it post. So this is very similar to basically what we did for our like button, right? So on the like button, we also had exact same thing. So if we are basically storing the post we are commenting on. And then once we have done that, we obviously need to load all the comments for that specific post. Now, there are a couple of ways you can do this. So obviously one way is you can pass it to your through your render method, or alternatively, we can use a computed property. Now, since I have already gone ahead and used computed properties on our post list, I'm actually going to go ahead and use the exact same method. I like them quite a bit, so let's go ahead and do it. I'm going to come over here and say a public function comments. And as always, for computed properties, we need to go ahead and add this computed annotation. So right over here, that's all we have to do. And then we can go ahead and say this dot post. So we get our post, and then we're going to get all the comments. Okay. Now, we don't obviously have this comments relationship yet. We'll go ahead and add that. I'm also going to go ahead and add this question mark in case our post is null for some reason. It just basically returns null, right? So let's go ahead and actually define our relationships on our post model. So I'm going to go ahead, open up our posts, scroll a little bit down. This is where we are defining all our relationships. So I'm going to go ahead and put it under categories over here. So it's going to be super simple, actually somewhat similar to the ones we already have. So I'm going to say public function comments. So basically each post has many comments, right? So this is going to be exactly the same way. We're going to say return this dot has many comment class, and that's all we have to do. So obviously our table name, we use -m, so Laravel generated the table name. So obviously it's going to be following the Laravel convention. We don't need to pass in anything extra. So this should be enough. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and do the exact same thing on our user model as well, in case we need to get all the comments for a specific user. So I'll just copy this, exact same thing, and move it over here. So we also have access to the comments on our user. And last but not least, since we're adding all the relationships, let's go ahead and also add it on our comment as well. So on our comment model, we need two relationships, one for our user and then one for the post. And this one is going to be this dot belongs to, basically comment belongs to a user. And then we need the exact same thing for our post as well. All right, and that's basically all our relationships defined. So we don't need to worry about it anymore. So in this case, basically, we are going to get our post, then get all the relationships on it. And then once we have it, I'm actually not going to get all the posts. I'm going to get the comments relationship. And then in this case, I'm going to order them by basically the creation date. So I'm going to say latest, and then also go ahead and paginate them. So let's say 5 items per page. So this is very similar to what we did on our post list. If you guys remember, we did kind of a similar thing. We got all the posts, and then we, paginated them, and we also ordered them. So I'm doing the exact same thing for the comments. Obviously, I don't want to show too many comments on one page. So now that we have this, we can go ahead and display them. Now we won't see anything at the moment because we don't have any comments, but it's okay. So over here, if you guys take a look at the HTML that we have, there is actually a div with the class of comments. So this is going to be a singular comment. So we can have a for else loop over here for this dot comments. So for computed properties, we have to add this beforehand. And then here, I'm going to say a comment. So, and then over here, our empty state, basically when we don't have any items. So this is basically for else. It's an alternative to for each, where it gives you an empty state for when you don't have any elements. In those cases, we can go ahead and show this one, which is no comments. And this one is also an HTML comment, so I should go ahead and do this. All right, so basically if we have elements, we'll show all the comments, else we use no comments posted. All right, now this won't do anything. Let's see. All right, so now that we are doing this, it's giving us an error message. Now, the reason this is happening is telling us post is not actually defined, right? And that does make sense. We haven't actually passed in this post to our comments box. So let's open up our show post page. Over here, when we are basically including our Livewire component, we also need to go ahead and pass the post itself, right? Now, we did this exact same thing for our like button. If you guys remember over here, I'm actually going to do the exact same thing, right? So we're going to pass in the post as well as give it a unique key just to be safe. So let's go ahead and do it. And the key is going to be obviously, actually, I like the key to be a little bit different. In this case, these two are going to have the exact same key. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add a little prefix for them. So in this case, I'm going to say like button, and then followed by the post ID. And for our comments, I'll do the exact same thing, but I'm going to say comments dot followed by the post ID. Now, the reason I'm adding this single quote, guys, is when you add this double colon over here, whatever you have inside your double colons are, so double quotes are interpreted as PHP code, right? So I can't just go ahead and say comments dot, post ID. This is not, this is seen as PHP code. So this isn't valid syntax. So I need to go ahead and add these single quotes. Same for our like button. So now that we have this, it should hopefully fix the issue. As you can see, the error is gone. Now let's go ahead and log in while we're at it. So I'm going to click on login. And as you can see, things are working. So now next up, we need to go ahead and actually, and as you can see, it's telling us no comments posted. So next up, we need to go ahead and implement this discussions page. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so this section is going to be relatively easy to make. So let's go ahead and do it. So first thing first, we need to find where we're actually displaying it. So it's going to be over here. We have this text area and our button. So for this one, we need some sort of public property to store the value of this text area. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and create a public property. I'm going to say public string, and I'm going to name it comment. So let's go ahead and actually model this. So let's do wire model comment. So that's the first step. And then next up, we need to also add a click action over here on our button. So in this case, I'm going to say wire click post comment. You can name this method whatever you guys like. I'm just going to go with post comment. So it's very descriptive, easy to understand, especially for the video. So now we should go ahead and actually create this on our component. So let's do public function post comment. And now we have everything done. So just to make sure it is working, I'm just going to go ahead and do dd hi to double check everything. So let's go back, do a quick reload. I'll type something in, and as you can see, we are receiving the event. So the process is going to be relatively simple. First, we need to actually validate what the user has typed in. So let's go ahead and add our validation rule. I'm going to use the annotation syntax for our validation rule. So we need to go ahead and add an annotation, PHP 8, same as computed that we used here. Use the role attribute I'm actually not sure if these are called attributes or annotations, what's the exact term is, or maybe they're called both, I'm not sure. But I've been referring to them as annotations for like a couple of years now, I'm not sure. So basically over here, we are going to first make sure it is required, obviously should always be required. Then I'll set it to be minimum of 3 characters, I think is okay. And then a maximum of 200 characters. I don't want it to be overly long. And I think that's all we need, okay? So let's go ahead and validate this. So I'm going to say this.validate. Now, because we don't have a validation rule on our post, obviously Livewire will not be validating it, so we don't need to worry about, you know, Livewire also trying to validate the post. But if you happen to have some other properties, maybe I'm just making something up, maybe feedback, okay? If we do validate, it will also go ahead and also perform the validation on feedback, right? But in this case, this action only needs comment. So in those cases, you can go ahead and do validate only comment, okay? So this is something to be aware of if your component performs multiple actions. So in our case, we don't need to worry about it, but I'm just going to go ahead and add this here in case later on we want to kind of expand its functionality. So now that we have performed the validation, we can go ahead. Also, let's do this.reset comment to also empty the value once we have posted the comment. So in this case, we can go ahead and get the logged in user, or we can maybe do it on the post. So let's do post comments. So we are getting the comments relationship, then call the create method on it. And then over here, we can just do mass assignment, basically pass in an array. So on our comment model, we need to pass in the comment itself, which is going to be this.comment. And then we also need to pass in the user ID, right? So who is the author, which in this case is going to be, we're going to say auth.id, all right? So this is an easy way of getting the logged in user's ID using the auth helper. So now that we have, this also should be this.post. So I believe that's all we have to do to actually create a new comment. Now this will give us an error in a second. I'll fix that because of the fillable, but let's go ahead and see if it's working or not. So I'll type something in, click post. And yeah, so it's basically telling us it is getting to over here, but it's telling us mass assignment is not allowed. So let's go ahead and open up our comment model. So basically, in this case, there are a couple of ways of fixing it. Obviously, we could go ahead and do kind of guarded equals to an empty array. That's the quick and easiest way of doing it. But since we have already added fillable for all our models, I like to be reasonably consistent over it. Obviously, for some models, if you don't care or it's not very critical, you can go ahead and set guarded to false. But I'll still go ahead and set the fillable. It's just like super easy to do. So we are going to have user ID, post ID, as well as comment. Okay, that's all we have to do. So let's go ahead and try again. I'll click on post. And as you can see, it created a comment. We are seeing the comment show over here, as well as it cleared the input box. So we have also implemented the creation. Now, so now that we are showing it, we are showing some random data. Let's go ahead and fix this one over here. We need to show the actual comment content as well as the user details. So over here, we need to have be comment. For the date, we can do the exact same thing we did for our post. So I'm going to use a diff for humans. So let's do comment.created at diff for humans. So this is a Carbon method for getting the difference, basically the days since this created at, and then it will kind of make it be humanized. Okay, so like 50 seconds ago, that's the format it uses. Now for our author, we can actually go ahead and reuse our post author we created, right? So let's go ahead and do it. So I'll delete this and do x post.author, right? This is a Livewire Blade component we created on the previous episode over here. We can go ahead and actually reuse this instead of adding it again. So in this case, instead of post author, it is going to be comment user. Right, so let's do a quick reload, see what the issue is. Seems to be working, as you guys can see. Now for the size, I think instead of MD, I'm going to use a small. And yeah, now I think it looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and add a few more comments. Let's try one more time. So it seems to be working quite well. I'm trying to get it to the pagination limit. So, okay, so now it's limited to 5. And the reason we're not seeing more is because we have this paginate on these comments over here, right? So we need to also add our pagination links. I'll do it under this user comments section. So let's go ahead and create a new div. And to show the pagination, guys, we already done this a couple of times. So I'll just say comments, sorry, this dot comments and then links. Okay, so it's going to be exactly the same as how we showed the pagination links for our post link. And also I'm going to go ahead and add some margin of 2, margin Y of 2. So it's basically like margin top and bottom of 2. And if we do a reload, as you guys can see, we can see our pagination link now working. Now, when I'm clicking on it, it's actually reloading the page, right? We don't want that. So in order to make this work, we need to go ahead and add on our post comments with pagination. Now, previously it used to give you an error. I think on the latest version of Livewire 3, it's no longer giving an error. So that's nice. But you may forget to actually add the trait. So let's do use with pagination. And let's try again. And now it is actually changing the page without actually reloading. Very nice. I think we have done the main core implementation. Now you could also go ahead and add a delete button if you guys would like. That's also nice to have. So it's up to you. I'll leave it to you guys to go ahead and implement that. Now, one last thing I do like to do before we actually end this is I do want to make sure the user is logged in before they post a comment, just to be safe. So let's go ahead and add a quick check here. I'm just going to say if auth guest, then go ahead and just return the user, or we can maybe send them to the login page. It's up to you. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and return. Now, once later on, we will implement our roles and permissions. I'll show you guys how we can change this a little bit more. But I think for now, this gets the job done. So that's it, guys, for our comments box. Now, there are some other things you can do. You can also go ahead and remove this render method. So in Livewire 3, if you're using just a default convention, you can actually remove this. So it makes your files a little bit smaller. And if I reload, it still works. So I'll go ahead. You could also go ahead and do that. I prefer to have it here just to avoid any confusion for new people to Livewire. I feel like they may get a little bit confused on, okay, where is this view file? So I'll still keep it on the videos. So that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any questions, you can ask me in the comment section below. As always, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. And I see you guys on the next episode. Have a great day. Bye.